Thank you, George. And I'm too hyped up to say anything of any substance, really. I just want to make sure I say at least that it's really not true that this program was put together by me or this whole event by me. There's a lot more people behind the scenes, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow evening. But there's many of you here who, through emails and phone conversations, made wonderful suggestions, and I think at least half of the program tonight is a product of that interaction. So if I wanted to say one thing, it would be let's continue to work on that for the next symposium and one after next. Continue to feed us your ideas, and that's the only way I think that this can continue to be really a quality program. The first speaker this evening is going to be Rob Mullen, a known wilderness artist and wilderness traveler, whom I first met a couple of years ago at Halbert in Vermont, where we have this wonderful paddlers gathering, smaller in size, but very, very, very nice. And it was a beautiful experience, and that's what inspired me to ask Rob to come here today. Rob has bought his first canoe back in 1968 from his paper route money that he saved. And in 1986, he went on his first real wilderness trip with his dad, and it was in Missinaba, if I remember, where he went back again in 2001 for the first wilderness art expedition called Source to Salt with his dad. And there were many of other expeditions that followed. In 2005, Rob founded Wilderness River Expedition Art Foundation, WREAF, and that has now become a program for the Center of Circumpolar Studies in 2013, last year. We're going to hear a presentation about bears and boat in the Brooks Range. So without any further ado, Rob, join me on the stage. Thank you.
It does work. Okay. I was afraid to say anything back in my seat. Thank you, Alex. Did I do something wrong? That was, okay. Am I banging things? There. Okay. Yeah, the Center for Circumpolar Studies, you have to bear in mind as a canoeist, they are a basically academic organization, and they promote the science and the humanities of the circumpolar north. And of course, that's the boreal forest and the subarctic tundra. And this is the prime canoeing terrain on Earth. So this is one of the reasons that drew me to them. I was first drawn to the north as an artist, but to move this thing along, REEF right there, Wilderness River Expedition Art Foundation, is now the Expedition Art Fellowship, because we can't be a foundation within another 501c3 group. So anyway, everything I do now is through them, and the funding is through them too, and it's tax deductible. Anyway, several years ago, I first started working with the Smithsonian on a, oops, I'm doing it again, Smithsonian on a wilderness. I was on a trip, and I had the idea of this boreal forest and combining art and science in an exhibition, like a Fool's Go or Angels Fear to Tread. I called the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, and it looks like we're going to open in 2016 in Anchorage. But to do the northern rim of the boreal forest, we went to Alaska, and that's the Noatak. We did it in 2012. I was going to do the whole thing here this last year, and we have a big crew going. The link between the two is the difficult part. This is what I will call Alder Hell. You'll see that in a little while. I had to take my canoe from the Noatak where we started last year. I did the Noatak again, and well, I was the only person on this plane except for the pilot, so it's a bit of a story I'll get into in a minute as why I was alone. There's no sound with this, by the way. There's supposed to be sound, so this is going to be problematic. Let me just, oops, goes to the beginning again, sorry. I'm always causing trouble. While we're doing that, I guess I could just fill in a little bit with the, I did call the Smithsonian up back in 2004. This has been going on a long time. If you ever want to get an exhibit at the Smithsonian, it takes a while. And we were at a conference, and I had suggested the no attack. Yeah, I can talk over it, but it's the audio visual, the audio is kind of critical to some of these. But I suggested the no attack, and one of the botanists at the conference down in Washington suggested the Kobuk, and I noticed they both started near Mount Igikpak, and they finished near Kotzebue. So I figured, well, why not do both? Just take some idiot to cross the mountains with a canoe to get it going. We had a big crew on the no attack in 2012. We have a big crew later this year. I couldn't get anybody to go with me over the mountains, so that's why I was by myself. And you should be hearing an airplane engine right now. Missing that's not a big deal, but there we go. All right. This is Dirk Nakish of Coyote Air. If any of you want to fly into the upper no attack, he's the only guy who does it. Best bush pilot in Alaska. And we're going to land on that little beach, which is exactly where we landed in 2012. This is the no attack river. We landed in a rainstorm in 2012. It wasn't as smooth. This was me figuring out how to use a canoe, a Hennessy hammock, and some tarps for camping. I kept working on it. This is going down the no attack, and we're going to turn left and go up Tupic Creek. And this is, from this point, the no attack is a trackless wilderness in the national park system in the United States. It is, however, regularly traveled. Going up Tupic Creek, you're getting out of the area where it's regularly traveled. We reconned this in 2012. We were probably the only people to travel that creek in 20 years. And now, if any of you have done so, I would be very interested to hear. The superintendent of Gates of the Arctic National Park thinks I'm the first and only person to travel over the mountains with a boat. I'm almost certainly the only person to do it by myself. This is the actual pass itself in winter, of course. This is Google Earth, and this is just kind of for fun. This was the area where I'm getting into an area, a land where there's no trail, there's no guidebook, there are no trip reports, there's nothing. It was a constant decision-making process of how to just get from point A to B. And we'll get to the real first-hand account rather than the virtual stuff in a moment. That's Mount Igikpak right up there, tallest peak in Gates of the Arctic National Park. This is back on the no attack. After Dirk had dropped me off, I assembled my pack canoe, and because we just threw it in the back of the plane, they're very handy that way. This is looking west down the no attack, and this is where I had to sadly leave this beautiful river, which I'd paddled last year. This is my, well, for now, canoe pack. I'm trying to keep the loads organized so that this can stay together until I get to navigable water, and there's nothing in here I need until then. I did not leave the boots there. It's a shame to leave a perfectly good river, especially one that I know the joy of upward and onward. This is what I called Mons Nominatum. I was told you can't name unnamed mountains in the park, so I called it Mountain with No Name. In Latin, I think. That was last year when we were doing our recon. That's the exact same rock. I had to quit painting. I got I think, a fairly nice little piece started, but the wind's died down. It's just nuts trying to get the paint in my face. I can't do anything, so I'm going to go to bed after 10 anyway. Well, with me in here, they're even more excited. I mean, there are thousands of them. This is Alaska the way it's supposed to be, right? This is 2 days in. I took a break. You have to have a rest. I hadn't conditioned properly, so I sat down and did some paintings from this spot. And the trouble as an artist is the lighting changes so fast. And it takes me at least half an hour to an hour to do even a quick field painting. So I just have to do my best. That was one of them. That's another one. Same exact place. two completely different paintings. And this was just looking to the north. This is down to the Noatak Valley, which I was still in sight of, the storm coming through. This is all that one painting site. Trying to paint that is tough, because that you're just chasing the light and trying to remember what it was you saw that you liked 10 minutes ago. This is ascending up Tupic Creek. That's not Tupic Creek, that's a side creek where I got some water. This is my Hennessy hammock, which you can see how the light changed right there while you're watching it. And that's the canoe, all packed up with the mountains. That's Tupic Creek going up. Now we're up actually on the top of the tough part of the climb into Angak Pass. This is Alaska Boykinia. Grizzly bears love it. It's endemic to the Yukon and Alaska. And that's I'm finally up to Manzanaminadam. That's the little hanging glacier at the top, which was kind of my goal for a week walking up the hill. That was what it looked like in 2012. That was what it looked like this past summer. Almost exactly to the day a year apart. I wasn't any point in putting the canoe in that. That was just a little tarn. It started raining. What can I say? This is this is a little American water pipit. They're very friendly little birds. The only company I didn't see any animals at all for almost 2 weeks.
Kind of tough day. I should have stayed in camp. Nothing but rain. A long way back up there. And I've got one more load to go. The boots, however, do leak, and badly. They're pretty wet. So I've switched to my Alaska sneakers, as Sandy calls them, and Chota boots.
Bears are coming.
Which are like a moccasin, so I feel all the rocks. There's a lot of rocks.
You remember, I was ferrying gear here. I couldn't carry, I'm not that strong. I had to carry 2 different packs, sometimes 3, back and forth, sometimes 5 times over every mile. This is the top of Angak Pass. I'm thinking about painting that with a bear in there. But when I get stuck, unlike George, when I get stuck, I don't write about pensions. I paint.
Well, it does get dark here. I was sound asleep, and it was crashing downpour started. So much for my blue sky. It has not stopped raining since it started pouring last night. It has not poured all the time, but the reed is no longer fordable. It's in full throat.
That was less than half a mile from the start of the river, so it was already up to, that's a good
Here's
back.
the disadvantage of no trails. I'm trying to find a way off of here. Holy cow, none of it looks easy. That's the Reed River down there. Steep, rocky. This is the ridge, which my tendency would be to follow the ridge. But I'd hate to find that just ends in a precipice. This looks like a possible down through here, maybe contour.
The only maps I had 100-foot contour intervals, so it was very
I've cached my
difficult
gear right
to
there. That might be the route.
use those.
Follow
I
this side.
pretty much just
Anyway, go back to the rest, get the rest of the gear.
wing it.
There's the approaches to Mount Igikpak. Hopefully we'll see it later. It'd be nice. There's
That's
some
why I
blue
brought
sky.
all the painting gear, was
so
to
much for my
paint
blue
Igikpak.
sky. Has one mean looking pile of clouds coming. Holy mackerel.
That's the peak, first climbed in 1968.
Well, this is about the most depressing. It's very pretty, but about the most depressing part of the trip. This thicket here, absolute nightmare. And there's more below. It's just alder, alder, alder. There are trees down there. Those are spruce trees in the forest. Make a note.
the transition between tundra and forest was kind of important to the trip, so I sat here for a full day. I finally did hit the help button on my spot tracker and had a food drop because I was so far behind schedule.
In case ever in my old age I care to relive any of this, this is walking through an alder thicket. That's where I've come. That's not so bad. This sucks. I think I'm breaking out though. This is a short one. Sure enough, broke out to another one. This is green alder. It has sex with itself.
Now, it does. These are the female catkins. They are persistent on the tree. The male catkins on the same tree. So I wouldn't be.
Well, there's my shadow carrying the canoe. See how little I am, how big it is, across a little boulder field. That's my gap over to the hard pack, and it's taken me an hour and 20 odd minutes to get across that from that other knoll.
That's where I was waiting for the rain drop.
We'll start. Let's just so I don't get cocky. Because this is a dangerous walk. I mean, really dangerous. But it's not as hard as the alders.
After the bears you're about to see stole my boot, I went looking for it. I found the first tree in the boreal forest. There was a pair of just released from mom sibling black bears who jumped me when I was taking a nap under my tarp in the rain, and we were within about 15 feet of each other. And they didn't care that I made big noises with the rifle trying to scare them off. They just sat there, played and ignored me. And then they noticed the hill. I guess I was supposing that's what they did.
I had two false tests today. I got so far as scouting down by the river. Got thing packed up, tarp, and the hammock, and I don't mind getting wet. As long as I know I can get here. It's not cold. You're wet. It's cold. You're wet. It's cold. This is my torture. Is sunshine. Right behind it. Another rain squall coming. And we're not 10 minutes past the last one. Well, looks like this might be night 2 here. I happily slept well. This is exactly where I was when the bear encounter occurred. And they, of course, molested the canoe pack while it was on its own. They ripped the tarp off, ripped it up a bit, chewed up the knee pads on the canoe, and took my boot.
This is alder hell from down south, cutting ahead of the chase here. I did fight through over several days and got through to a caribou trail. This is the start of the boreal forest. We finally had some mature trees. That's the caribou trail right there. But rather than fighting through alders, I now had a trail to follow that stayed up above the river. It was the heaven of walking through Alaska that I kind of daydreamed about when I was planning the trip out, except for having to carry all that gear back and forth.
It's the best progress we made. If I had a pair of boots that didn't leak, I would be flying. I'm literally squeezing the water out of them. That's what happens, all twisted up. Let my feet dry, just to give them a break from the wet, so they're not soaking in dishpan all day long. Then I'll put them back in their damp socks, and put them back in their soaking boots, and we'll do it all over again. Right? But the trail is solid. I don't know if it leads directly to the Reed River hot spring spot.
When I finally did find the river, I had the inauspicious sight of an adult moose had been killed there. This is I found a dry dock, laid out my pack canoe, and in 1 hour, all by myself, I have myself a nice boat ready to go. So I was 3 weeks into the trip. I was pretty tough.
Okay, it hasn't hit water yet.
It shouldn't sound like that.
Water system, no attack. Here she is. The Reed. There we go. campaign, don't rotate much. I'm camped on a little spit on this side now.
The
See, nice
sound
blue
has
sky.
gone completely awry.
Having up there.
I was just pointing out that it finally was, that's where I did camps the night before, pouring rain.
All right, August, get some shelter up.
It's pretty typical of the weather I had. It was just, it was,
Yeah, I didn't miss it. In fact, this is
there you go.
just like very wet. And for my fishing friends, I just
These are the fish I've seen. The chum, salmon, chum salmon. Now, for those of you who don't, I'm going to take a risk here. Well, I did get ambushed, and that's where I sent the warning round, that little white. I put that in the painting. This painting is not done yet, by the way. It's back home, kind of working on it. But I had just come past this gravel bar cut bank, and I heard a rough snort behind me and turned, and this guy was in full charge. And I'm basically saying there, this SOB just took a run at me. And you can hear him breathing in the video, which you can't now. But he's giving me a dirty look and takes off for parts unknown. And I was just on the video saying, I just put it past his left ear. And I blew a sigh of relief because I was feeling pretty lucky just at that point. I kept the rifle on top of the pack just with the muzzle through a grab loop, so it was... This is pointing out that only 5 minutes later, I had a sow and 2 large cubs jump up on top of another cut bank right over my head. Scared the willies out of me. I put a round into the bank to scare them. You know, we all were scared, went our way. But this is within 10 minutes. And I've now seen 4 bears in 10 minutes. And there's another one. I was fit to be tied at this point. I'm by myself. There are bears everywhere. I'm expecting to see them come out of every bush. And this guy was, I tried to make it work a day and take pictures of him because I'm a wildlife artist and that's what I do. But my nerves had totally cracked and I wanted nothing. As beautiful as this river is, I just wanted to get to the Kobuk where I thought bears would know what people were and behave better. So I paddled almost 50 miles in the one day. So you have to keep your eye out. I'll show you in a minute. I was shooting a video for Bonnie, my fiance, who's in the front row here, telling her how much better I was feeling about bears after 30 miles of not seeing any. And I had no idea. I'm just taking a nice video. An innocent little canoeist out there in the middle of nowhere on a river no one's paddled in 15 years. And yeah, right there. Keep an eye there. I'm continuing to yap along, blah, 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 about wanting to get to the Kobuk. And I was really feeling bad about having to race down the river, but I also need, there he goes. He just took off. You can see him running right there. I did cuss a little, so it's probably just as well the sound is off. And I made some comment about, well, I'm going to paddle for another 10 miles, which I did. Because I was relieved that he ran away. The last 2 bears I saw were behaving in a way that I expected them to, and which put me at ease. So this is where I camped. And I have also you just have to take my word for it, it's very witty and it's very funny stuff I was putting in here. And I was pointing out that, yeah, it's very hoarse. I don't know what's gone wrong. But I was talking about what I was looking for in a campsite at that point. I wanted driftwood so I could tie on, because there are very few boulders here for dead men. So I needed to find a piece of driftwood. I could use the boat and the driftwood to set up my tarp. And I wanted a good bit of distance to the brush because, well, I was really nervous about being anywhere close to brush. Let's just say that. And I was feeling much better about bears. I really was. I slept very well that night, ironically. This is the next morning. Absolutely beautiful morning. It started off very foggy, but it burned off. This was, as I point out in the video, was as bear-proof as it needed to be. Nothing came charging through the brush line, and or as I said, not yet anyway. I haven't broken camp. I was didn't feel completely safe until I was back out on the water, which was ironic since that's where I did get attacked. But there's the Arctic moon. It goes up. This is a red-necked loon, red-throated loon, and I did meet somebody else on the river, on the Kobuk. I'm on the Kobuk, which is paddled by other people. This is Hendrik from Germany, and that's a she-fish. And if you want to go fishing, like this guy is, he sat across from camp from us for about an hour watching the salmon. Didn't bother us at all. So I was feeling better about bears. Hendrik wanted a picture of his crazy gun-toting American buddy. So there's my mismatched boots. Okay, it's rolling, should be just about rolling up, yep. This is the Kobuk River, absolutely gorgeous. This was on my birthday. And there's a big she-fish hole there. But the Kobuk's bigger. That's a she-fish right there, I think, actually, by the tail, might be. There were a lot of caribou in the Kobuk, but I didn't see any, except for that guy. And a lot of eagles, and there were a lot of wannabe eagles. That's a gull. This is the village of Kobuk, where I stopped for resupply some food, and they were very amused by my boots. It was a Nupiat village, and this is the only wildlife I saw south of the villages. Once you hit the villages, this was the last version of my pack system. I had the little camp stove there. That's a hobo stove. All the food and all the wood I need for breakfast, because it was going to rain, so I like to put in, so I don't have to go out. I just wake up and make breakfast. And this is the Ambler, this is the Kobuk River Lodge in Ambler, Alaska, right on the river. Luxury accommodations. It's pretty sweet. And this is the flight home, and that was Mount Denali. And this is me being greeted by my puppy, this is in Montreal, which is where Bonnie lives. I think this is going to wrap it up. So I did it okay on the 5 minutes there. She didn't know who I was with a beard, because I don't usually have a beard. And that's it.